So I was thinking to myself after doing, those two reaction videos that I did, that I should give my own like actual full thoughts on the current state of the game. And this isn't like a rant. Usually when people talk about the game, it gets classified as a rant. I'm not angry at all, so I'm not going to be ranting on anything. Just talk about the game, give my own personal feedback. That's based on my own thoughts, not from reacting. Because basically when it comes to reaction, I view reactions as a video reply. It's not an actual reaction. I'm just replying to what the people in the video are saying. Whereas this video is just more so just me just giving my own thoughts entirely, without using someone else's comments as a launching board, right? So to talk about this game, I'm about to get into some rivals real quick. I don't know if I'll show y'all gameplay or not, but this might just be like a full yap session. But I want to try out, the fully upgraded for Gabby Portello. I want to try out freaking Sadio Mane. But just to talk about the game, every single year when it comes to this franchise, this time of year is when you start to see videos where people are just ranting about the game, saying how bad state the game is. And it's not just this game; it happens with 2K. I have people who I follow who I've been literally a Twitch mod on some people who are in the 2K community, who've been part of 2K's community since JTV was a thing before Twitch. So I'm very like keyed in on how 2K community is going, and it's the same thing for them. Every single year, at a certain time of the year, you get a bunch of videos that come out about the state of 2K. Happens with Madden, happens with all games. Every game goes through this process where there's a point in time of the game where everyone just starts to talk about, the state of the game in a negative way. Even when it comes to like, as for those who don't know, I play a variety of games. I play FPS games, I play RPGs, I play MMOs, I play FIFA. I have a live stream on Twitch where I stream a variety of different games. I sometimes stream FIFA, but it's very, very rare. So if you're going to follow me on Twitch, understand that there's a very, very rare chance you'll see me play FC on the Twitch stream, because usually I just focus on playing RPGs and shooters. But to give you an example of a shooter that has like a similar situation, Rainbow Six Siege. There's a thing going on called hashtag Save Siege. And when it comes to Siege in comparison to this game, the Siege community is very toxic, but their toxicity is more so geared towards other things, not necessarily realism. One of the big top points of this game right now is realism, and how it's unrealistic to have men and women play on the same team. One of the things I mentioned in the 89 skills reaction is that actually here in the United States, I don't know how it is in other countries, but in the United States, it's actually very common at the youth level for a lot of girls to play on boys teams, because some places don't have girl teams. At the same time, some girls are so good at the game where their coaches put them in the boys team because they just feel like, hey, she's so good, put them in there. There's a lot of players who will tell you that they've played in co-ed teams. Not only that, this is a video game. Realism doesn't fucking matter. This is a game where you can have literally a dead player on the exact same team as a player who's alive. That's not realistic. It's not realistic to have Maradona on the exact same team as freaking, Leroy Sané. It's not realistic to have, a center back playing as your striker. It's not realistic. Like, the whole the whole Shapeshifter promo is not realistic. You can play Marmashvili as a center back. You can play, Milinkovic Savic, who's a goalkeeper, as a center mid. Those things aren't realistic. But we don't complain about that because there's no group of people pushing that agenda. Because all this is about an agenda. So people aren't pushing an agenda of, hey, it's not realistic to have these icons who are dead in this game. It's not realistic to have this promo where Holland is playing as a center back. It's not realistic to do this, and this. It is an agenda to try to get women out of the game. So people are making up, reasons for why they shouldn't be in the game. Like, oh, the reason why the game is in a state that it's in is because Pena exists. It's like, Pena is irrelevant. Pena is just a name people are using because it's the most common player who you see in your teams, and the reason why she's coming to people's teams is because she's cheap. Because before, if people like Alex Morgan, if people like Maradona was cheap, you'll see them more. People use who are cheap. She's a cheap player, so people are going to use her because she fits the meta, and the meta right now is what? Low driven. I had a game, I think it was yesterday, I don't remember what day it was, but I had a game against someone who had the ultimate scream La Jolla, Dybala. And Dybala has a low driven. This guy, I won the game, but he scored a couple shots with Dybala that were just him just spamming low driven shots. I had a game during the ultimate screen promo where this one everyone in the room was using Benzema because he was the SPC. Everyone's using Benzema during that time frame. I had a game where I lost 6-5. The guy had 6 legitimate goals. Every goal he scores legitimate. I had a game in the Ultimate Pro tournament, where I won the game, but every shot the guy took was him trying to take legitimate. He had Messi, he had Pena, he had like somebody else as well, and all of them have low driven. He just kept trying to spend low drivens. The issue with how people are playing the game right now isn't Pena, it's low drivens. They're unbalanced, they're broken. But people are using Pena as like a dog whistle, as like a buzzword to make people angry because it's a word people know. I mean, it's a name people are familiar with. Reality is, who cares when it comes to like women being in the game? You can say, well, you're biased because you use women in your squads. Yeah, want to know why? Because that's why I play the game. If they didn't have women in this game, I wouldn't play this game. This channel would not have these videos. This channel would just be a sports channel where I talk about like actual IRL sports. I would not play FC at all. Yeah, I said it before. I used to be a career mode guy. I played career mode for FC from about FIFA 10 until 24 when they put women into Austin team. So that's 14 years of me only being a career mode guy. Then they added women to the Austin team, and I was like, "Ooh, I get to use Christian Press with Busquets." Because for those who don't know, I'm a Barcelona fan and a United fan, and I watch all the women's leagues. My favorite player of all time, though, is Christian Press. So my thought process for Austin team is I get to build a squad of my favorite players from around the world and just have fun with that. That's my brain's thinking. And again, to pull things back into like, is this a thing that people have in other games when it comes to like this whole mixed gender dialogue? Rainbow Six Siege is very unrealistic, but no one talks about how unrealistic it is because no one cares. It's a video game. They're just playing a video game. For example, when Valkyrie first came out, I don't know how things are now, but when Valkyrie first came out in Rainbow Six Siege, she's a Navy SEAL. And at that time, again, I don't know how things are now, but at that time when she first came out in Rainbow Six Siege, there were no women in the Navy SEALs. There were no women in Special Forces in general. I think a couple years after she came out, there's a woman who joined the Green Berets, and that was pretty much it. But at that time, there was no women in the Special Forces, and there's no women, especially in Navy SEALs. Not a single person went, "This is unrealistic, Ubisoft. I'm not playing this game until you take Valkyrie out of the game." No one cared. Why nobody cared? Because no one told them to care. A lot of people's reactions in video games is based on someone else telling them to be angry. That's just how society is. Society is all about someone telling you to be angry and then giving you a lot of mental gymnastics to become angry. It's like, hey, you know what? I do keep losing games opinion. Get her off the game. They tell yourself like, yo, you keep playing against such and such. You're mad about playing against a person over and over again. You should be angry about that. They manipulate you into believing certain things. The reality of the current state of the game is it doesn't matter who the player is. If the meta is going one way, people are going to use that one player. Just how it is. Meta is meta. It doesn't matter if you're playing this game, playing Halo, Call of Duty, Madden, Yu-Gi-Oh! There's always going to be a meta because just how games work. Meta, for those who know what it is the easiest way to achieve success without having to try too hard. If you're playing Yu-Gi-Oh! People are going to freaking pull out, the Blue Eyes deck, pull out the Malice deck, pull out, the what you call it, Rizio decks. Why? Because those are the easiest way to achieve success, but with the least amount of thought process to do it. If you're playing Halo, people are going to run a combination of things to just do the most meta thing possible. There's a time where everyone's using needlers because they're just broken as hell. It's time people are using only the freaking the Band-Aid because it was broken as hell. You're playing Call of Duty, you're going to only remember Black Ops 1. People just only use it for Moss. Wanna know why? Because it was the easiest gun to use in the game. People aren't interested in skill. People are interested into flashing how good they are with things that aren't skillful. That's why there was a guy in Black Ops 1 whose name was like NASA 1. And his whole, motto or, gimmick, if you will, was he plays Call of Duty using SMGs only and no high score streaks to prove that he can get high skill games without relying on kill streaks. That was his thing. Most people don't do that. Most people are more interested in to just doing the easiest thing possible to achieve success. And every game has a group of people who are rats. Rats are people who they play the game in what that majority community will view as an unfun way. It's very dirty and gritty. You make the game boring. You kind of ruin the experience of other people. Everyone has it. FPS games, it's called a camper. Campers are rats. The way they play the game is not fun. It ruins other people's playing experience, but they do it. So all these things that exist in FC that you are complaining about, things like that, for the most part, it's just a gaming thing when it comes to the mechanical stuff and people and how people play the game. And I'll always say this when it comes to like FC in general. The biggest issue with these games is just the community. This community sucks. Like, just entirely sucks. And a lot of y'all gonna feel attacked by this, but I'm gonna say this before I get further into this. If it don't apply, let it fly. What that means is, if it doesn't apply to you, I'm not talking about you, so don't take it personal. If what I'm about to say here, or what I'm saying in general doesn't apply to you, don't take it personal. Play the game how you want to play the game. Make sure, again, you spent the money on the game. You bought the game. You have the right to do whatever the fuck you want in the game. You want to be a rat, be a rat. That's your choice. If you want to be someone who only does low driven shots, that's your choice. It's your game. If you want to be someone who literally, only runs meta squads, that's your choice. Is your game. But what I'm going to say is this community has a lot of people in it who does not care about anything other than creating a miserable experience. They want other people to suffer because they have a miserable life. They play the game and just do all the mechanical abuse bullshit and just try to have the most unfun game possible because they themselves aren't that good at the game to begin with, and they need to rely on these mechanics. And a lot of y'all, like, people talk about, like, oh, it's so dumb that everyone's running the exact same squad. You know why everyone runs the exact same squad? Because everyone has a thirst for success. And playing the most meta squad when you're not a good player gives you a higher chance to have success. Because your squad doesn't actually matter all that much if you're a good player. If you're a good player, you'll win with whoever. You can use a meta team, get wins. You can use a past present squad and get wins. You can use a silver squad and get wins. You can get a bronze squad and get wins. It doesn't matter. That's why you see all these pro players. You see all these people like Nick RTFM and Boris and so on and so on and so on do these different freaking squads challenges and still have success because they're good players. But if you're not a good player, you can't do that. You can't. You have to have meta, because the meta is going to compensate for what you lack. You have to play the 4-5-1. You have to play the 4-4-1-1. You have to play the 4-3-1. Because without it, you can't have success in the game. And during those moments when you lose, you get pissed off because you spent money on packs. And just the game, but on packs, on the coin shops, and all these other avenues to build the most meta squad you can, and then you lost to someone who's not even using a meta team. That pisses you off. You have a 50 million coin freaking icon, all icon team, and you lost to a bunch of golds. And it pisses you off. So your way of showcasing your anger is to find things to blame. It's not me the problem. It's not that I'm bad at the game. It's that this fucker was using goddamn freaking Pena. And it's like, shit has nothing to do with it. Even when I get y'all those examples of people who aren't Pena, that, was giving me a hard time, and even whether I won the game or lost the game, I never blamed the player. Like I said, I had a game where I lost to someone 6-5. He had 6 goals with Benzema, all low different shots. At no point during this video or during that game did I go, Benzema's broken. No, just like, whatever. Low different shots overpowered. He's going to score those. When the guy who I beat, I won that game, I think 5-2. He had 2 low different shot goals with Dybala. When he scored those 2 goals, I didn't go, La Jolla is broken. Why? Because my brain's not thinking to itself, the player's the issue. Because my brain's rational and knows the issue is a playstyle. It's a broken playstyle. People are going to try to, so for me, I try to play the Barcelona way, some Barcelona fans, what I grew up watching. I try to just do a lot of tiki-taka. I never even think to myself to only score one way. You might see a finesse shot, you might see Juvella, you might just see me just hit B and that's it. You might see low driven. It's rare, but you might see low driven. You almost never see me do cutbacks, but there's a chance that you will at some point, because if whatever arises to show itself as the goal to go for, that's the goal I'm going to go for. But for the community, if your only thought process is, I want to do whatever it takes to win, your brain's going to calculate, okay, the most broken way to play the game is low drivens. I'm going to use players who only have that, and I'm going to try to score that. And it's not just this year. Last year, it was Trivelis. People couldn't find a way to score but they noticed that Trivelos from a certain angle worked every single time. So for the most part, for majority of the year up until right around now, maybe like December, people just spam Trivelos, which is why they've been, nerfed to the point where they are now. In S24, it was crossing and headers. People would just play for corners just to get headers. Like literally, people will literally miss shots on purpose. They will literally aim at the goalie to try to get the goalie to knock the ball out of bounds so they can get a corner. People were playing for corners. People were playing for crosses in S24 because heading was broken. Guys like Drogba and Haaland were gods. Every team had one or the other. You couldn't face a single team in 24 that didn't have one of those two players. And if people couldn't afford them, they just used Sorloth. Sorloth was very meta in 24 because of that reason. And it's every single year. People find a way to just be ratty and also to just find the most broken way to play the game. Even when it comes to like how defensive this game is right now, the 4-5-1, the 4-4-1-1, and the 4-3-1. In 25, from September till about January, most people ran a 5-back because they couldn't defend. People run defensive formation because they can't defend. So they're doing things to compensate for why they can't defend. But EA last year, they saw all the complaints about the 5-backs, so they nerfed it. They nerfed how tucked in the center backs were, and they nerfed how the wing backs play. So that killed the 5-backs, and everyone switched to the 4-2-1-3. And then the Team of the Year update came out that made the game way more attack heavy, and everyone freaking loved that it was playing the game that way. So these are all processes that have always existed in the game, and a lot of the complaints people have when it comes to like individual players is irrelevant, especially when it comes to the argument of realism, because it doesn't fucking matter. It's a video game. You don't play a video game for realism. You play a video game to have fun. And it's kind of like why I said to my Discord, we're talking about 9 skills this video. It's about Inception. How Inception in his video was like women presence in the games are irrelevant. He's like they're just pro club players. That's what Inception was saying. Inception was like they're just pro club players. They have no actual like impact on the game for the most part. Other than the fact that they have a build, the same build that Maradona had, the same build that Pele had, the same build that Messi has. If you have these kind of players, male or female, they're going to perform a certain way in the attack. He was like, it doesn't, like, he literally said in his reaction to A9 skills that it's irrelevant. And personally, if you want to know like my opinion on certain things, my opinion on how players should work with each other is based on just their stats. I do not care about anything else, just the stats and play styles. Your stats and play style should dictate how you work in game, nothing else. So give you an example. Let's say Renard. Renard is 6'2". She's a big body, a lot of defense, like just crazy. If I'm playing with Lionel Messi, let's say I'm using my personal pass spread squad. Let's say I'm playing with Messi and someone has Renard and VVD. And I'm trying to like dribble around with Messi near the freaking box, and Renard deletes me. No complaints. Messi's freaking 5'7", who usually in this game doesn't have a lot of physical. He should get bodied in the video game. IRL, not thinking about IRL, because who cares? It's a video game. In a video game, the stats of the player should freaking matter. My small ass freaking, Messi should get bodied by a 6'2" defender. That's fine to me. Because that's, just, it's a defender. That's how it should work. Now, if I'm playing with a 6'2" forward who has equal to or better, physical than Renard or VVD, then it should be a 50-50 situation where like sometimes, that person has success, sometimes they don't. That's how it should work in my mind, And when it comes to, well, how do you get around that? Because wouldn't it just mean people would avoid using small players? That's where skill comes in. If you are a skillful player, you will find a way to get around them and score. That's why people love dribbling being good. And also, that's another thing about it too, when it comes to like why certain players are good in attack, because dribbling is better this year. The reason why certain players weren't this crazy last year, by the way, a lot of players who were good this year were good last year. But the reason why they weren't as noticeable last year is because last year, left sticking wasn't as crazy as this year. This year, left sticks are phenomenal. I had a game where I literally did a fidget spinner pass with Shesko I forgot who I had a striker because I was running a 4-2-2. I did a literal spinning pass with Sheshko, who's not a small guy, who's not some crazy dribbler. It was so quick and so smooth, and got a goal off that. That's how good left sticks are this year. But you can use a big body player and do some fidget spinner shit with that. So low driven is part of why, you know, attacking is where it is now, but also just dribbling is also very, very good. So when it comes to like the other things, let's make this let's wrap this up. When it comes to like some of the other stuff, like, okay, you're not talking about like the actual issues of the game. The game does have a lot of issues. Why aren't you talking about those things? I will. So to me, the issues with the game, other than low driven being broken, is defensive AI is just way too strong. You know, that's also part of why we have, you know, this frustration with this game. Defensive AI is too strong. I think what EA should do is, first off, tone it down a little bit, but don't go too crazy on defensive AI. But instead of going crazy on defensive AI, just buff attacking AI. You know, I'm a firm believer in, instead of just nerfing things to the ground, you just make other things better, so where is more usable. So just make attacking AI better. You know, if defensive AI is going to be good, attacking AI needs to be good enough to where you're okay with, okay, so this defender's doing this. Hopefully, while I'm controlling Sadio Mane, hopefully Gundogan makes a very, very good AI run where I can get him the ball. If I'm playing as Gabby, hopefully Press or Van Persie makes a good enough run so I can get them the freaking ball while I'm dealing with 3 defenders defending around me, where one of them is freaking player controlled and the others are AI controlled. I would also say, just in general, to just make this game more fun, just remove certain things. Remove keeper movement. Remove 2-man press. You know, you will see the game become a way more fun. Now, EA is already considering keeper movement. We know for a fact that they're thinking about ways to rebalance it or remove it entirely. I'm more in the camp of just remove it entirely, because to me it's a bailout mechanic. It erases people. It compensates people being bad at defending. People will be absolute shit defending, and they move their keeper in the last freaking second to save themselves from allowing a goal. You shouldn't have things like that in video games where you can compensate for someone being bad at defending. You know, if you suck at defending, you should be punished for it. No matter who you are, even myself. If I make a dumb decision to pull freaking Tarsien out of position to try to like win the ball, and my opponent beats me, does a dribble move or whatever he does to get through me, I'm cooked. That's just how it is. You know, that's on me for being a bad defender. That's how it should be. Yeah, there shouldn't be like a last ditch effort to be like, all right, I'm just going to freaking have Lloris do a rush out, or, you know, I'm going to move him to the left and like fake it to the move to the left and go to the freaking to the right to block the shot, because my opponent was smart enough to notice, hey, he moved his keeper to the left side. Let me go far post instead. I'm like, haha, I tricked you. You know. But, you know, anyways, like I said, I don't want this video to be too much longer. I'm a nobody, so no one's gonna care what I have to say. You know, I've seen a creator literally say like EA should only listen to people who are pro players, to people who, you know, have thousands of subscribers and viewers. Yeah, so my opinion doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how long you're playing this game. If you're not someone with a million, you know, subscribers or a pro player, there's people who think you shouldn't even have an opinion to begin with. You know, at the end of the day, what I will say is this: just play the game and play the game. Have some fun. Now, I said this to Nate, the Foot Accountant, because there's an argument in his chat about why people play the game. He was saying people play the game to get rewards. And one of the things I said was, I play this game because I want to be able to run around playing football with my favorite players. And getting packs is how I can get my favorite players. Because you don't just match and get players. You know, there's SBCs, and there's, you know, the market and things like that. You have to open packs to get players. Other than season pass SBCs. You can't get SBCs without having fodder to put into SBCs. So you have to get rewards. You have to get packs. That's why packs matter for me, is so I can be able to obtain people like Christian Press or Ali Riley or Busquets or Alba. Outside of that, I just want to play the game with favorite players. I don't care about the meta. You can. That's perfectly freaking fine. I want to just use my favorite players and have fun that way. And the second that I can't, I'll stop playing the game. That's just how my brain works. If I can't play the game my way, I'm not playing the game. And it might apply for you as well. If you can't play a game your way, let's say you're someone who loves low drivens and they don't nerf low drivens, you might be like, I'm done. You have that right. You have that right. I'm out of here. Deuces.